This is Vinyl 4 recap of round 3 of our Sweet 16. Hey, Craig, here we go. Back
Mhm.
again. So we're going to do what we've done for the past. This is our third, our third round of Sweet 16s. We're going to go through like we've done the last two times. So we've been through a total of 12 Vinyl 4 rounds. And at the end of every four, we do our Sweet 16 and we just recap it, talk about really high level what we think about the album. Does it have a chance all the way as we get to the end? For those joining maybe for the first time, we take 16 albums every episode. They're randomly selected, numbers picked from the Rolling Stone 500. We narrow it down to a final four or a vinyl four for each episode. So we've now made it through 12 rounds. We're going to do a recap of rounds 9 through 12 of our vinyl fours. So that's 4 rounds. That's a total of 16 records, 8 that Craig picked, 8 that I picked. We'll walk through those now. Craig, you're going to go first with your first choice going all the way back 4 weeks ago to round 9. Take it away.
All right, so round 9 started off with what came in at 195, which is John Mayall with Eric Clapton. It's the legendary Blues Breakers album. Excellent, excellent British blues. Starts off with All My Love, which is an Otis Rush song. So many great bangers on this album. Some of the stuff was written by Mayall, and some of it was covers. He even does What I Say from Ray Charles. Just a classic blues album. This is Eric Clapton at his most biting as a guitar player. I think a lot of people don't know how well of a blues guitarist he truly was. Phenomenal. So I had that, and then I followed it up with 262, which is Grateful Dead, American Beauty. This is kind of a fairly new discovery for me. Since Kevin and I have been hanging out, he's kind of educated me on Grateful Dead. American Beauty, Working Man's Dead are two albums that I really, really like. This one's got Box of Rain is excellent. Ripple is a fantastic song. Of course, Truckin'. It's just a classic, classic album. It's really undeniable. This is one of those albums that if you don't think you like Grateful Dead, try this album. Try Working Man's Dead. I think you'll be very happy.
How do you feel about these making it deep into the vinyl four? The final vinyl four.
Um, Probably not for me personally. Um, Once again, it comes down to matchups. They're both great albums. I think they're adequately placed in the realm of where they rank in the overall scheme of things. But for me personally, I don't have a deep rooted connection with it. Maybe the Blues Breakers album, but there's some other blues albums that I actually cherish a little bit more. So we'll see. That one could go deep. The Grateful Dead, like I said, is new to me. It is a fantastic album. I just don't have an emotional connection to it. So it really comes down to matchups.
All right. Conversely, for me, both of my round 9 records pretty significant. So number 8 ranked on the Rolling Stone list, The Clash, London Calling. I don't even know where to start or where to end there, but one of my favorite albums of all time. We've talked about it many times. I know it's one of your favorites. It might
Absolutely.
be as good. I don't know that there's a better double album out there. There's others that are pretty close tie, like Physical Graffiti, for instance, but London Calling is so many bands failed with the double album deal. Usually
Yep.
it's about 2, 3, 4 records in, a band would get pretty big, pretty confident, and pretty prolific in their songwriting and go, hey, let's just make it a double album. We've got a lot of songs here, and it doesn't work. I love Beatles' White Album. There's a couple of moments on it that are definitely filler, but for the most part, it's one of my favorite Beatles records. Physical Graffiti, one of my favorite Zeppelin records as a double album. And this, The Clash, London Calling, absolutely. Everything from Lost in the Supermarket, Rudy Can't Fail, Train in Vain, Revolution Rock, of course, the title track. This album has the potential to make it really, really deep. Again, like we've always said, matchups are key, but I could see London Calling making it very deep into this tournament, if you will. Also, Derek and the Dominoes at 117, of course, which is Eric Clapton post Cream and really pre Eric Clapton solo. Derek and the Dominoes, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs is one of my favorite records from the late 60s, early 70s. Hands down, one of my favorite records, one of my favorite Eric Clapton records. This, for me personally, is another one that could go really deep in the Vinyl 4 rounds as we continue to match up down the road. So really happy with both of those choices. Now we go to round 10. You want to go with your two picks from round 10?
Yeah, two huge records for me. Polar opposite in the spectrum of where they lie in the top 500. But we'll start with Elvis Costello, this year's model. Came in at 98. It should be way lower than that, in my opinion. That album is monumental to me. The start of From No Action to This Year's Girl, the beat, Pump It Up, just keep going down the line with this album. There's not a weak spot on there. The album officially ends with Night Rally. There are some import versions and alternate versions that actually have radio on it, but that wasn't on the original copy. It's great with, and it's excellent without, so you can't go wrong either way. This album is just so huge for me. It's his first album with the Attractions. I just love this album. It should go and will go really deep for me. Follow that up with D'Angelo's Voodoo, and I'm telling you, I really didn't pay attention to Brown Sugar when that was released. I liked it okay, but I wasn't really into that style of music. I've since gone back and listened to it, and it's a great album, but this is a huge step forward. It was released in 2000, if I'm not mistaken. The album is not really, to me, an album of individual songs as much as it's just a complete album. It is an experience. He just has a style that's like this blend of early or really more mid Pinnacle era Stevie Wonder with some modern hip hop, modern soul at the time. It's so good. Like I said, it's not my favorite one. I think his last album was actually my favorite album, but this album put him on the map for sure. People really started to take him seriously after that, and that's the reason why it's on here. It's adequately, appropriately rather, placed in this list. Could be lower, but I can see with a little bit more time when they revise this list, because this is the most, I guess this is the classic list. As things evolve in 20 years from now, I have a feeling that's an album that will actually climb and not decline, just because of his legacy. So excellent album.
All right. The two picks that I had for round 10, man, I'm repeating myself here from the last two. These both could go really deep as well. The first being the Beatles' classic Rubber Soul from 1965. It's not my favorite Beatles record, but it's almost better than any other record ever made. I have a lot of Beatles records in my top 10. This will go really deep, starting out with Drive My Car, which everyone knows that song. But the real highlights here, Norwegian Wood, which was probably the first time that you had traditional Indian musical instruments used in a pop hit. You've got Nowhere Man, which everyone knows, but really songs like The Word, What Goes On, Girl, I'm Looking Through You. What a great album. This is going to go very, very deep, again, depending on matchups. And then the second one for me, which is at 228, is Pixies Doolittle. Oh my gosh, how much do I love this album? Gouge Away, probably one of my favorite songs of the era. Monkey Gone to Heaven. I mean, it's just such a good album. This also, for me, this is an essential record from the late 80s, early 90s in terms of quote unquote alternative rock, indie rock. It's as good as it gets. I could also see this one going really far for me in the subsequent rounds that we'll do. All right.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely. You've had four just absolute monumental albums, so
yeah,
good
bangers.
stuff.
All
Yep.
right. Back to you for
All
round
right,
11, your two choices.
next up for me is Nick Drake. Pink Moon came in at 322. Of course, that kicks off with the title track, monumental track. This whole album is beautiful. Place to Be, the follow-up song is great. Things Behind the Sun is amazing. And I love the capper From the Morning. The whole album, though, it's one of those things too where you just don't listen to it in individual pieces. You listen to it all the way through. I feel that way about all of Nick Drake's album. Once again, not my favorite, but it's a fantastic album. He does not have a weak album. All three of them are classics. So this could definitely go deep. But the one that could really, really go deep is the follow up here. The next pick I had, which was George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, which came in criminally high at 434. I'm only thinking that it's just one of two things. It's George Harrison, it's not John Lennon, it's not Paul McCartney, and maybe because it's a triple album, it's a very long affair. I'm not a huge, huge fan of double and triple albums, but when you start getting into, like you said, with the Clash, London Calling, you start talking about Pink Floyd, The Wall, and some of these Beatles, the White Album, and then this is a case of even a triple album. It's just flawless. It really is. It just demands that I listen to it at certain times of the day, certain times of the month, week, whatever, to where I can listen to the whole thing because I have to. I'm an album guy. I have to listen to the whole thing. So, but just a monumental album. I think he's probably one of the best singular songwriters out there. It right up there with Lennon, right up there with McCartney. But unfortunately, he just doesn't quite have the cachet that they do. So I think maybe this is a little overlooked. Critics are always going to give this a 5 stars because it is 5 stars. But I think to the public eye, they need to pay a little bit more attention to this because this can go really, really deep. The only thing that would draw it back a little bit is I can't listen to it as often because I have the time for it.
Yeah. All right. My round 11. Whew, man. I'm really surprised that Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction is ranked 62. I would have thought it would be in the top 50. It would be for me all time. It's not a listen for everyone. It deals with a lot of rough subject matter. Probably similar to a lot of stuff that was coming out at the time, gangster rap at the time. It was a lot of stories from the street, a lot of topics that were, drug use and other things. But I tell you, this record, it was so raw when it came out, and it kicks off with Welcome to the Jungle. There's not a bad track on this album. Probably the only song, my least favorite song on the album is still a good one, is probably You're Crazy. And that may be some people's favorite song on the album, but for me, It's So Easy, Night Train, and I really, really love, probably more than any other song on this record, is Think About You. That's probably my favorite Guns N' Roses song. I just think it's such a beautiful song and a beautiful melody. Love that Love that album so much. It will go deep. And then, of course, the Smiths, Louder Than Bombs. What more could be said about that? The Smiths, to me, they were just, and I guess maybe they ended things at the right time because they never, I don't know, Craig, when I think back on the Smiths records, I don't think of any records where I think it was a complete dud. And to me, no exception here. It's
Yeah,
more of a collection of songs, but I think back on songs, to me, Shoplifters of the World Unite, London, Panic, William, It Was Really Nothing, Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, Oscillate Wildly. Oh my gosh. I mean, so many great songs on this record. It plays like a greatest hits, and it's not even their greatest hits, which is
it
insane.
does. Yep,
So
I
this one
agree.
for me could also go really far. I don't know. It's going to be tough with the Smiths because I'm spread out over a couple of their records that if I had other ones, it would be really hard. And if I put this up, I kind of use maybe one of the Beatles records as the gold standard. I don't know how this would fare against a Beatles record, but could this end up in my final 16? For sure. And then it's all, like we said before, it's all based on matchups.
All right. Last two for me are big, big albums. One of which I didn't mention. I almost did just a second ago when talking about double albums. Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. It's my second favorite double album behind London Calling. It is just astronomical. We've talked about songs on there. In My Time of Dying. Um, I mean, 10 Years Gone is just absolutely amazing. We talked about those two songs, but I mean, In the Light is an amazing opening to the second side, which would be, side basically side C and D, the flip side of things. It's just this whole album is just absolutely monumental. Of course, Kashmir, Trampled Underfoot, that was a banger. Um, this one doesn't have a lot of the hits like some of the other ones does. Those are the only two that I can think of that really got a lot of radio play, but it's just so diverse. It shows this band, to me, they had many, many peaks, and this was, to me, one of those peaks. I just feel like their creativity on this record was just at an all-time high. Love it, love it, love it. This will go very deep. The tricky thing is they have a lot of albums that I love. Everything up through this point is flawless, as flawless can get, in my opinion. So it would be tricky if you match this up with Three. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. Or it could be Mood. Mood goes into all of this, right? But it will go deep. I can guarantee it. Following that up with the Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream. That came in at 363. Led Zeppelin came in at 73. I feel like both of those are way too high, should be lower. I feel like Physical Graffiti should definitely be in the top 50. And I think Siamese Dream should really be probably in the top 200, in my opinion. Could go deep. I do love this album. I'll admit, I'm sentimental for Gish because I came in with that first album, but this was a huge step forward. I said this before on the last episode. Sonically, it's just incredible. One of the most ironic points is the second song is called Quiet, and it's anything but. I mean, it's just absolutely just the guitars in that are just amazing. Great guitar playing on both Billy Corgan and James Iha's part on this album. It's just astronomically everything about it. Billy Chamberlain, Darcy, this band was just on fire. But some of the best songs on the album are the quiet songs like Soma and Space Boy. And it's a beautiful record. I think Mayonnaise is still, to me, one of my favorite songs. It's a song got a little bit of radio play. You hear it from time to time, especially if you listen to XM. You might hear it from time to time. But I go on with this album because this came at a peak for me. This is right when I'm in college. I really enjoy it. I'm sentimental. I'm nostalgic for it. But I think it stands the test of time too. So this is a question of matchups. I think if you match this up against, once again, Physical Graffiti, it's not going to make it. But you put this up against some of the other albums, I think it might beat Blues Breakers. Let's be honest. I think it, because it just means more to me. And like I said, there's some other Mayall stuff that I actually think is equal to it. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit. I'm excited about this entire list. Excited to hear what you say about your last two, though.
Yeah, for me, the last two from round 12, first of all, Dr. Dre, The Chronic. Maybe the best street rap album of all time. It's vicious, but it's also, and I said this on the last episode when I picked this, there's so many songs on this. It's just poolside, backyard. Now, couldn't have younger people around. This isn't a family album.
Right.
In fact, some of the songs I can't even on this family show will not repeat the entire title of the songs, but suffice to say, things like Let Me Ride, Nothing But a G Thing, Dre Day, on and on. There's so many great songs on this. This opened my eyes to that early to mid 90s rap, hip hop. I don't know that it ever got any better than this. It's just so good. How far this goes, I'm not sure yet, but it is in my opinion, the best hip hop album, complete hip hop album in my mind, especially street rap ever. And so that alone is going to give it a really good shot to have a chance. And then going over to Depeche Mode, Violator, it has my favorite Depeche Mode song of all time, hands down, is Policy of Truth. I love The World in My Eyes, Personal Jesus, Enjoy the Silence. This is a great album, and this is the one we talked about before. It was the record where I realized Depeche Mode was more than just a clever singles new wave band. These guys were for
Yeah.
real, and they were making great records. And then from here, it took off, and they really became global. And I love this album so much. I think this one could go pretty deep. It personifies a certain place and time in music, and really just was so influential and so universal when it came out. So I'm all in on Violator. Well, that's our
Agreed.
12, or I'm sorry, not our 12. That's through round 12. That's our Sweet 16. So now, Craig, we have 48 records that have made it through the first round of things, if you will. We're going
Yep.
to go through, starting next episode, we'll go with round 13. And you realize at the end of that group of four, so around 13, 14, 15, and 16, we'll be halfway through. And when we started this, it seemed like it was going to take forever to get through the 500,
Yeah.
but we're working our way through. We're almost halfway finished. And I'm not looking too far ahead, but I am excited because when you look at all of these, we've had some tough matchups already and some tough decisions to make, but it's going to get
Yeah.
really tough when you take all of these. You take these 16, for instance, and if you just match these up against each other, there would be some really tough decisions to make. I mean, if you had to right now make a
Absolutely.
choice between if you got matched up with Elvis Costello, this year's model, versus Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, I mean, seriously, that would be painful for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
And that
was nervous because I forgot about our format for recaps. I was thinking, wait, do we narrow down? No, we don't narrow down, do we? No, no, we don't. And I was like, oh no, we're just recapping. Okay, great.
I can
Because I
relax this
wasn't
week.
Yeah, I wasn't about to be one bit ready to narrow any of this down because there's just too many great records to match up against one another. This is where you hope you get that one album. When you start getting down to these, you just hope those lower tier albums are the ones that match up against your all-time favorites so that you
Yeah,
don't have to pick a favorite on not going to happen.
not gonna happen.
That's the world isn't that perfect.
Yeah,
So but that's what makes this fun is it's kind of like in some aspects, I don't put a lot of thought into going into comparing a couple of albums. I kind of like as Kevin's been doing with us on another podcast, I kind of like the whole gun to your head pick. Okay. Because some of those things you can mull it over and mull it over. You're not going to come up with a perfect answer. Just pick one in
yep,
some aspects. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do. If you're going to put this year's model up against physical graffiti, I'm just going to have to pick one. And that's
yeah,
going to be a really hard decision. Yeah.
it's gonna be tough. Yeah, and just, you raise a good point that I'll mention before we move on and wrap up here, but every episode we're going from 16 to 4, and there's 32 episodes or 32 rounds. 32 times 4, that's what we're going to end up with. 32, just for everyone who's coming into this maybe for the first time or maybe listen to a couple episodes, there's going to be 32 groups of vinyl 4s that then are all going to be randomly matched against each other, and these are the
Hmm.
decisions that are going to be made. There's going to be a decision at some point down the line where it's going to be the Beatles Rubber Soul versus Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti or something like that. And it's going to be really tough, and we're going to have to make a decision because ultimately the goal is the very last episode, we come up with the 4 best albums. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking at times, but we're going to enjoy every second of it. Craig, I'm going to end off here. I'm just going to recap, even though I did this last episode. I'm not even going to do the rankings, but just the matchups that we have
Cool.
for next week. So your matchups next week are the OJ's Backstabbers versus Pearl Jam Vitology, Barry White Can't Get Enough versus Simon and Garfunkel Bookends, the Byrds, the Notorious Bird Brothers versus the Rolling Stones Now. And then Mott the Hoople, Mott versus Cat Stevens, T for the Tillerman. Those are your matchups. Mine are Jerry Lee Lewis, All Killer No Filler, the anthology, versus Funkadelic Maggot Brain. Then it's Television Marquee Moon versus Raekwon, Only Built for Cuban Links. Then I'll have Joni Mitchell Blue versus the Pogues, Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash. And then finally, Sam Cooke, Portrait of a Legend, 1951 to 1964 versus Neil Young with Crazy Horse. Everybody knows this is nowhere. So as you see, again, if you're coming into this for the first time, the matchups, they're random, but they're tough. And we're going to make some tough decisions. And out of those 16, we can only come away with 4. So we'll see how that goes next week.
Yep. All right.
It's always fun. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Vinyl 4, we will be back next week with round 13. Thank you.